From dog bites to fights with the creator, there's no shortage of behind-the-scenes scuffles from NCIS. And the latest one is no different. It looks like the NCIS bosses are in a bit of a pickle. Michael Weatherly, who played Anthony DiNozzo on the show until 2016, recently got tongues wagging. He revealed some juicy information about Mark Harmon's time as Leroy Jethro Gibbs. In an interview, Weatherly shared that he and Harmon were like two opposing poles when they first met on the set. Weatherly was the North Pole, and Harmon, who played Gibbs on NCIS, was Antarctica. He was confused by my presence right from the get-go. I was like a little kid who had had one too many bowls of Count Chocula, joked Weatherly. Back in November, sources claim Weatherly had been making it known he wants to return to NCIS.
This was the restaurant with the stripes.
Right.
I was not the host of Friday Night Comedy Bar.
That's different
I was table for four.
Unfortunately, his gaffe made it a bit more difficult now that people think he's being envious and immature. When he left NCIS at the end of season 13, his co-workers understood but were disappointed, said a source. But before Weatherly dropped the bomb about Harmon, producers were really excited at the prospect of him returning to NCIS. Michael's available now, and he's put the word out that he's receptive to return to his former show, another insider said. This could be a real slap in the face for Harmon, who retired last year but has been rethinking it, added another source. So now it looks like Weatherly should have kept his thoughts about Mark Harmon to himself. Otherwise, he might have just ruined any chance of returning to NCIS.
I asked Dad if I could get a few, and then what I did is I brought them to school, and I started selling them, and they were moving like hotcakes.
So you're talking Swiss Army black market?
Yeah, I was adding 10%, just to...
Whoops. As one insider put it, if he had half a brain, he'd shut up. But Michael's a big oaf, and his ego needs constant stroking. I guess we'll have to just wait and see if Weatherly can make up for his comments. But, believe it or not, this wasn't the first backstage controversy on the show. The NCIS crew has been through a lot over its 2-decade-long run, and there have definitely been more than a few behind-the-scenes fallouts.
We're gonna find out what play it was anyway.
Le Cajafo.
Please tell me you're playing the part of the drag queen Zaza.
One of the most talked about, though, is the rumored fallout between Polly Perrette and Mark Harmon. It emerged back in 2016 that Mark's dog had bitten a member of the crew, who then required 15 stitches. After that, Polly had reportedly asked for the dog not to be allowed on set again. However, it seems that her request was not granted. The actress has since spoken out about how she felt afraid of Mark in a series of tweets which alluded to the situation. She wrote, "I've been supporting anti-bullying programs forever, but now I know because it was me. If it's school or work that you're required to go to," adding, "It's horrifying. I left. Multiple physical assaults. I really get it now. Stay safe. Nothing is worth your safety. Tell someone."
And then after this terrible thing happened, with all the emotions that you have, number one, being grateful to be alive, also just being in shock, a big part of what I was feeling was my heart was breaking for this.
Since then, Mark has remained silent on the matter, so it looks like we may never really know what happened between the two. Aside from that, Cody DiPablo played the beloved Ziva character for 8 seasons on NCIS, and fans were devastated when she abruptly left in 2013. It was later reported that Cody had made the decision to leave the show over disappointment with how her character was being written. Apparently, Ziva's fate was to be sent back to Israel, which Cody felt was a disservice to her character. She wanted Ziva's story to be taken seriously and for the character to be respected.
Like what's going on out here? And then all of a sudden I realized, it's fascinating. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that world is fascinating and shiny and everyone's pretty and everyone's having a great time, Oh, so we appear, right?
So until NCIS could provide this, she chose not to return. It is clear that Cody had a deep attachment to Ziva, as she had been playing her for 8 years. It's a shame that she felt the need to leave, as she was an incredible actress, and her character will always be remembered fondly by fans. Here's hoping that maybe one day they can patch things up and Ziva can make a comeback. David McCallum wasn't too pleased with Cody DiPablo's decision to quit NCIS, and he spoke about it publicly. He expressed his anger at her for walking out on the whole cast and crew, especially as she had been a leading lady in the series. McCallum didn't understand how someone would just up and leave in the days before production started.
Just writing a story. I look at, the New Yorker, and they have these wonderful short stories, and I thought, I wish I had that technique. So I sat down with the intention of teaching myself to write, and
He questioned if Cody was truly serious about her career as an actress, since she was giving up such a fantastic opportunity for growth. In the end, let's not forget the most infamous backstage controversy of all. Mark Harmon and the creator of NCIS, Donald P. Bellisario, weren't exactly seeing eye to eye when it came to working conditions on set. Apparently, there were constant feuds between the two, and eventually, David McCallum explained that CBS had asked Don to leave. Mark publicly alluded to the situation, saying he wasn't going to go head-to-head with Don in the press, but he went on to discuss how their workdays were getting more organized. He also mentioned that this didn't mean that they were working any less hard. Meanwhile, Donald P. Bellisario revealed his side of the story, explaining that Mark had refused to reshoot a scene even though he asked him to. It's a shame the situation between these two ended with such animosity. It would have been nice to see them work together again in the future, but it also shows the kind of position Mark held in the show. Despite being the show's creator, Bellisario still had to leave the show because it was practically nothing without Mark. NCIS fans were devastated when Leroy Jethro Gibbs bowed out of the show at the end of season 19, after a near 2-decade-long run. But maybe, just maybe, it won't be the last we see of Mark Harmon's beloved character. That's according to Rocky Carroll, one of Mark's co-stars and friends, who recently hinted that Harmon could be back for the show's 20th anniversary. Speaking to TV Insider, Rocky said the following: "We might see Gibbs again. I think as long as the show stays on the air, there will always be a little bit of a tease that we might see Gibbs again." He added, "Gibbs is the moral compass. He's the moral compass that we all wish we had, and that's for sure." And it looks like Mark Harmon has given us a few more clues about his possible return.
And there's a responsibility in that, and there has been over a number of years. You work with these people every day, and it only works when people want to be there. And I'm proud of being there for 17 years, certainly, but
It was back in 2021 when he released a special featurette on the season 19 DVD release that Mark opened up about his thoughts on leaving. He talked about how each season brought him the opportunity to tackle fresh and challenging material, suggesting that after almost 2 decades, he no longer felt this was the case. However, Steve Binder, NCIS's executive producer and Mark's good friend, released a statement, and it heavily implies Mark may be making another reappearance at some point. It read, "As an executive producer and dear friend, Mark continues to be an integral part of the fabric of the show. Never count Leroy Jethro Gibbs out." Could this really mean we'll be seeing Mark Harmon return as Gibbs for the show's 20th anniversary? Only time will tell, but I'll be keeping my fingers crossed. There's no denying that Gibbs has been a key part of the show since its very first episode, and it simply wouldn't feel complete without him. We've seen him tackle some of the hardest cases and form an incredible team of investigators, all the while maintaining his trademark humor and wit. He's inspired countless future generations to join law enforcement and made us all laugh with his deadpan comments. He's also been a shoulder for many others to lean on during emotional scenes. So, if NCIS plans on going out with a bang, then Mark Harmon and his character need to make a triumphant return. His absence has been felt ever since he left, and seeing him again will no doubt be an emotional experience for viewers. Do you think Mark Harmon will return? We'll see you in the next one.